Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. Husband's on the brink.
He thought I was a witch, and he slept in the garage in a tent.
Samantha says her husband fled the state, abandons his family, hides under a bridge.
And a cop who has daily panic attacks.
He wears nasal strips in public.
I'm afraid to get a stuffy nose.
He's constantly in fear.
Police officer usually don't cry.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. All right. You know, even a child knows electricity and water are a deadly combination, right? Well, my guest Ryan apparently didn't get the memo because a few months ago he decided to adjust his Christmas lights in the pouring rain, and zap! That's right, he got electrocuted. His wife Terry says a few weeks later she noticed her 27-year-old police sergeant husband started having panic attacks on a daily basis. Now, Terry says since the accident, Ryan has racked up over $50,000 in doctor's bills and spends a lot of his free time lying on the floor at home, wearing breathing strips on his nose and covered in essential oils because he's convinced they will stop him from having a panic attack. Terry says this has consumed their life, is tearing their family apart, and she says she's had enough. Take a look.
My life has been completely turned upside down. My husband's anxiety and panic attacks are causing stress in our marriage. The anxiety and panic attacks could impact his career with the police. My husband went from Mr. Personality to zero personality. Before the panic attacks, he was the life of the party, always making jokes, but now you do not see that at all. Are you okay, honey?
Yeah.
He is more focused on laying down, being still, being quiet, anything he can do to prevent a panic attack. It's like he's in his own world, in a zone. We were putting up Christmas lights. It started raining. Ryan grabbed a loose wire and he was electrocuted. Ryan complained that his heart didn't feel right. So I took him to the fire department and they checked him out. They told him his heart was perfectly healthy. Now, every time he has an anxiety attack, he thinks it's a heart attack. The very first panic attack, we were just sitting on the couch. Out of nowhere, he just jumped up and took off running out the front door. And he's like, I'm having a heart attack, I'm dying, I'm dying. We went to the hospital, his EKG was fine, and the doctor said he was having a panic attack. Ever since that first visit, he has lived in fear. Now he has unusual behaviors to keep him from having anxiety attacks. He wears nasal strips in public so that he doesn't get congested. If he gets congested, then he won't be able to breathe. He'll have a panic attack. He wears the essential oils all day. They stink. It completely infuriates me. Enough is enough. He definitely needs to get control over it. I want my husband back.
Okay, first off, this is not him, right? This is not the way he is.
No, absolutely not.
This has just been the last 4 months or so.
Since a few days before Christmas.
Okay.
So,
and before that, what was he like?
Perfectly normal.
Was this, in your opinion, triggered by him getting zapped?
That's what I thought at first.
If it's not that, why is he doing this? Why all of a sudden, here's a happy guy, confident, great job, great career, popular, lots of friends, beautiful wife, family, everything going great. Why all of a sudden would he fall out on the floor and start rubbing oil all over himself?
I think that when he got electrocuted, he felt that maybe felt like a heart attack. And
so it is back to the electrocution. You think that shook his faith?
I did.
Shook his confidence.
Yes, sir. Like he's constantly in fear.
Terry's husband is a police sergeant who went from protecting and serving the community to sitting behind a desk once he began having panic attacks. even though the doctors keep telling him there's nothing wrong, which is absolutely incorrect. I cannot believe that's what they're saying. He says he knows something's just not right.
I'm sitting here grounding myself because it feels more comfortable. I believe I can breathe better here. I'm relaxed on the floor.
My anxiety is out of control. It feels like I'm dying when I'm having a panic attack. In the past 4 months, I've had more than 100 panic attacks. I'm a 27-year-old police officer, and I feel there's something wrong with me. When I'm at work on my lunch break, I usually lay down the yoga mat in my office, close the door. I've been to the ER 6 times over the past 4 months. It feels like I'm having a heart attack. Whenever I'm having a panic attack, it feels like a heat going throughout my body, my hands tingling, shortness of breath, my chest hurt, numbness. I have a panic attack a couple times a day. Driving makes me feel anxious sometimes. In the car, my hands get tingly. Sometimes I have to pull over. I keep telling the doctors my symptoms: tightness in the chest, trembling, shaking in the hands, sweaty feet, heat sensation down the body, shortness of breath. I feel like dizzy, like I'm gonna faint. I have these symptoms every day. The doctors say I'm fine, but I do believe they might be missing something. It's not good enough. I don't believe the doctor. My wife thinks I'm obsessive about my anxiety. My wife, Terry, isn't supportive and doesn't think my panic attacks are a big deal. It hurts when she doesn't take me seriously and blows me off. I'm scared Terry could leave me over this. I believe we will last, in sickness and in health, like we vowed, but I'm not 100% sure. I feel like a prisoner in my own body. I used to be very outgoing, and this anxiety is just taking control of my life.
Okay. Have you ever watched the Dr. Phil show?
Sometimes when my wife has it on, no offense against you, but she watches it more than I do.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, no offense taken.
Thank you, sir.
Son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. No. Well, you might be pleased to know I'm a big proponent of law enforcement.
Yes,
I have these big programs I do called Behind the Badge, and people say I bleed blue, so I'm on your side.
Thank you, sir.
What do you think's going on?
I honestly don't know. I was normal. I was happy. I was outgoing. And then right before Christmas, I first had my first panic attack, and I was sitting on the couch, just got off work, and then all of a sudden, a big heat sensation went down my body. My hands start feeling numb, and my heart or my chest was hurting, and it felt like I had a shortness of breath. So that's when I had my wife take me to the hospital.
Uh-huh. Was this after you were playing with electricity in the rain?
No, that was after. That was after.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I don't believe so. I don't believe it had anything to do with it. I know not to pull down Christmas lights that way anymore.
Yeah. So that was one trial learning?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Let me see if I understand this correctly. You can be sitting around, everything's fine, and all of a sudden you start getting a heat sensation in your body.
Yes, sir.
Next thing you know, it begins to radiate through your body.
Yes, sir.
You get tingling in your fingers.
Yes, sir.
You start to get numbness and heaviness in your arms and your legs.
Yes, sir.
You start getting a flushness in your neck.
Yes, sir.
It grows up through your face.
Yes, sir.
And you get a real hot sensation.
Yes, sir.
At the same time, you start feeling a shortness of breath, as though you may not be able to get a breath.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do I understand what's happening to you?
Yes, sir, you do.
Okay, then don't ever tell me again.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you don't ever need to tell me again, because I understand.
Yes. Well, if you ask me, I'll tell you again, sir.
I won't.
Okay.
And let me tell you that what you're experiencing, these doctors that are telling you there's nothing wrong with you, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. There is something wrong with you. Mm-hmm. You have one arousal system. It's the same one that you use if you're at a Cowboy game and they score, which has happened, lately at least.
Yes.
They do score.
Yes.
And so you're excited. You're pumped up, right? That's the same arousal system that you gets you pumped up as if you're in an alley and you hear something behind you, like a gun cocking or something moving that's not supposed to be there. All of a sudden you get pumped up. It's the same arousal system. The only differentiation is how you label it. Your autonomic nervous system is running amok. It's sending you all of these signals that you're going into fight or flight. You're in danger. everything is pumping from your viscera out into your periphery, and you're going like that.
Yes,
so
sir.
there is something wrong with you. You're triggering when you shouldn't be.
Yes, sir.
We're making progress, right?
Yes.
All right, next, from daily panic attacks and possible spider bites to mysterious rashes and a very strict diet, find out what other ailments Ryan thinks he might be suffering from. We'll be right back.
I use several remedies to keep calm.
I just put this on my nose like that, and it opens my nose.
I'm afraid if I get a stuffy nose, I won't be able to prevent a panic attack.
Constantly thinks there's things wrong with him. He'll complain of sore throat, earache, acid reflux, acid indigestion. He had an allergic reaction to a deodorant and had a rash on his armpits, and he thought the rash was going to spread to his throat and he was going to stop breathing. He says he's allergic to cranberries. Everything he orders, he will have to make sure it doesn't have cranberries in it. I'm sick of hearing about the cranberries. He is convinced he has acid reflux. He is scared to eat anything but soup. He's lost 30 pounds. This is ridiculous to me.
All right, Ryan says he's had at least 100 panic attacks in the past 4 months. That is not unusual. I believe him 100%. So Ryan has come up with his own remedies to treat what ails him. Take a look.
Over time, these have become my lifeline.
I use several remedies to keep calm. I carry nasal strips, Vicks Vapor Rub, antacids, essential oils in my bag to prevent anxiety.
This is the breeze strip. I just put this on my nose like that, and it opens my nose.
Every night and then sometimes during the day I wear the nose strip. I'm afraid if I get a stuffy nose, I won't be able to prevent a panic attack.
What I'm doing right now is rubbing Vicks on my chest and my neck.
The Vapor Rub helps me breathe better. At night I use the essential oils like lavender. It helps me calm down and helps me sleep.
I put them in the diffuser and turn it on at nighttime, and I believe it helps me get relaxed and calm down. In my mind, I believe it helps relieve my stress.
I've tried yoga, but I don't believe it's a cure for panic attacks.
You feel completely supported by the surface that your body is resting on.
You feel a little calm for a little while, but then your mind starts going. I'm always Googling on the internet, anxiety, panic attacks, the symptoms to make sure I'm not having a heart attack.
I'm looking up symptoms of anxiety and how to deal with anxiety. Sometimes it just gives me even more anxiety.
Okay, now, stay with me here. All of the things that you're doing, by the way, you're frustrated with him, right?
Yes.
Why are you frustrated?
To see the obsessiveness that he's gone to try to prevent them, and to try to comprehend why he keeps doing it if it's not working. And it's frustrating to understand that.
Right, and I'm going to help you with that, okay? Because there's no reason on God's earth that this should be a wedge that's being driven between the two of you. Now, you say you've had, 100 panic attacks?
Yes, sir.
And you believe that they're really heart attacks?
I believe that maybe sometime they can go into a heart attack or sometime they might be a heart attack.
Okay, in terms of panic attacks, you're 100 and 0. You've had 100 panic attacks and no heart attacks.
Exactly.
Okay, so at this point, based on statistics, you would pretty well be able to rule out that they're heart attacks.
True.
Because here's the thing. In psychology, there are very few things that we say we can cure. This is one of them. This is one of the things that can be cured. You just have to have the tools to do that. Do you think you're going crazy?
No, I'm not going crazy, I don't think, but I'm not the same as I used to be.
What's your first symptom? What's the very first thing that tells you, oh, hell, here it comes?
My mouth gets dry, like right now, and I start losing my breath.
Were you nervous when you came out here?
Yes, sir.
Because your palms were sweaty.
Yes, sir.
So how much into an anxiety attack were you when you walked out here?
May I have some water?
Sure. Bring some.
I was very anxious coming on here.
Yeah. How do you feel now that you're out here? Feel better?
A little better. You're here with me.
Yeah. And I'm telling you that you can fix this because
Yes, sir.
Here's the thing. There's no mystery about this. What's happening is there's a system in your body that's getting triggered. You have something like dry mouth, and that's a trigger for meltdown. But it can also become a trigger for coping. And you can learn to do these things across time. And part of it's your internal dialogue. When I come back, I'm going to ask you about that. Now, Terry says she's frustrated with the mounting bills and extreme changes in her husband's behavior. But she's going to feel better about that because that cost is getting ready to go to zero. Okay? Now, her mother, Jan, says it's a bigger issue than Terry's letting on. We'll meet her and hear what she contributes to all this when we come back.
We have up to $50,000 in hospital bills. This bill is for, he thought he was having a heart attack. This one is for chest x-ray. This is for exam, emergency room, emergency physician's bill, an ambulance ride. My husband goes to the hospital 2 or 3 times a month. It's stressful because by the time I get one handled, there's another one coming in. Seems like a never-ending cycle.
My son-in-law has completely changed in the last 4 months. He used to be loving. Now he is very secluded. He doesn't want to go in public. Terry and I are always on edge. Right now, it does seem like Ryan has a shorter fuse. I worry about this impacting their relationship. He thinks that we're not taking him seriously, and in some aspects we don't understand. I think Ryan could possibly be overtaking his anxiety medication. Terry is constantly trying to figure out the reality of what really is going on in his head.
Okay, Terry's mother, Jan, has lived with the couple for over a year and says Ryan is letting his panic attacks ruin his life. You see it wearing on the two of them relationship-wise.
Yes, and I think we don't know what direction to take, so we're taking like all these different paths, and I know there's probably only one real road to correcting things.
Yeah. Well, there is, listen, you know, I have kind of a from-the-hip delivery style in the way I say things. I know a lot of 75-cent words. I just try not to use them. But the fact is that I really adhere to what are called evidence-based therapies, that are therapies that have empirical evidence that suggests that they work. And that's really what I adhere to when I give advice up here. And the thing that I want is everybody in his family, you're going to have to get involved and become educated as to what's going on, because what's going to happen here is, for some reason, his control of his autonomic nervous system, his arousal, has gotten out of his control. Probably it had to do with the big shock that you got, because it causes you to realize, hey, I'm not bulletproof. Things can happen to me that I didn't think could happen before. I didn't feel like anything like that happens to other people, not me. And so all of a sudden, you start feeling kind of mortal. You kind of start realizing, I'm not bulletproof. And it causes you, at the innermost level, your internal dialogue to change. And now your internal dialogue has really shifted. Because when you start having anxiety, your internal dialogue is very fatalistic, isn't it? It's fear-driven. Bad things could happen. What am I going to do? This could not stop. What if it doesn't end? All these, you start having, if we wrote your internal dialogue down, which you're going to do, it would scare a statue.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
It's very negative.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And you have to understand, you speak at 125 words a minute, you think at 1,250 words a minute. So your internal dialogue, man, you are pounding yourself at rapid fire. So you're thinking these negative things at tenfold how fast you can talk. So your internal dialogue is just bang, 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 bang. You all need to learn this, and what we're going to do is get you into a program that is cognitive behavioral therapy, which works on your internal dialogue. behavioral biofeedback, which gets you back in control of your autonomic nervous system. That's going to have to do with some exposure therapy, and you're not ever going to have to be panicked in order to get it under control. And I suspect this will be dramatically under control in a matter of just a very few weeks. It's going to no longer be an issue with you. What do you think about that? What would that mean to you?
Good.
That'd be good news? Do you believe that can happen? Because I'm going to lead you down that path. We're going to make this happen. Okay? Now, Terry and Ryan came here with questions and unresolved issues, and I'm going to start putting those answers in order right after the break.
Terry and I got married really quickly. We met in the police academy. I was already a police officer. She was a recruit. She actually asked me to marry her. When I met Terry, I was in my 20s, and Terry was in her 30s. It was a culture shock when we got married. I went from being a single person living with the parents to a family man with 3 kids. The kids are attached to me and consider me their father. I don't feel pressure of being a husband or a stepdad. I believe Terry has given up on me just a little bit. She's not there for me like she should be.
Joining us via Polycom right now is my very good friend and chairman of the Dr. Phil Advisory Board and co-founder of the Lawless P&P Center, Dr. Frank Lawless. Dr. Lawless, I have said to this gentleman that phobias, panic attacks, anxiety, these are one of the few things in psychology that we can actually cure and eliminate from somebody's functioning. Is that a fair statement?
That is a very fair statement. I'm glad you said that.
What would you think would be the first elements of the protocol that we would want him to start experiencing? Would you begin with some cognitive behavioral therapy and some biofeedback training, and how would you apply that?
Well, basically, the biofeedback and the cognitive behavior approaches are very, very similar in the sense that you're beginning to figure out how your brain works. And so consequently, he needs to learn how to calm down his brain, which he's trying to do already, but given skills in terms of a very safe environment to begin with. And then the next step would be to carry that out to the next level in situations that he gets anxiety.
I think the literature says an average of, 11.3 sessions with guided imagery and or biofeedback and or cognitive behavioral therapy, with or without SSRIs or SNRIs, to facilitate it, can eliminate this behavior completely.
I think that's a very fair statement, although I would say probably a little quicker for him because he is motivated, he is eager to learn, and he's very smart. Plus, he's got a very supportive family that we would like to include as part of the therapeutic approach.
Yeah. We're going to set you up with a therapeutic team that is going to work with you on cognitive behavioral therapy, on some guided imagery, some biofeedback training, and we're going to get this under control in a very short period of time. I want you to leave here with a feeling of hope because you're going to start making traction toward this as soon as you get home. And you understand what we're going to do is train you to get your body back under control. It's spun out of control, and so there are neurological aspects of it. There are autonomic aspects of it. We're just going to teach you to get those things back under control. And as soon as you do, you'll go, I can't believe I wasted all that time.
Yes, and a police officer usually don't cry.
Hey, let me tell you, big boys don't cry, but men do. And I want you to be glad you came here, and we're going to get all over this, and this is our gift to you and your family. Fair enough? Are you glad you came?
Yes, sir.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. We're going to get this done. All right. Coming up, you think breathing strips were bad? My next guest was living in a tent and under the bridge just to get away from his wife. Matthew was the perfect husband, father, son, provider, all around good guy. That is, until she says his brain just snapped. Now, according to Samantha, in the last month, her once loving husband started calling himself Bob, went on a $20,000 spending spree, slept in a tent in their garage, fled the state, abandoned his family, hid under a bridge, and thought the police were chasing him.
Matt went from being the perfect husband to being the devil. My perfect life and perfect marriage has turned into a nightmare that I can't wake up from. Recently, Matt has made my life a living hell. Before his manic episode, Matt was trustworthy. He was so paranoid he slept in the garage in a tent. He told me that he just couldn't be in the house, that the house was haunted, and he felt better sleeping out in the tent. I thought it was insane. Crazy. One day, when I had approached Matt, he got paranoid and thought I was a witch and ran and went under the bridge. Last month, I brought him to the emergency room on 3 different occasions. He told me that he was paranoid, he was crawling under the skin, he couldn't deal with them. Under the skin, he couldn't deal with himself, he was seeing things, shadows on the walls. Matt referred to himself as another person. He would say it's Bob, and when he would say something mean, he would say, oh no, that's just Bob. Finally, I got him committed because he completely lost his mind. In the last 30 days, he drained $20,000 of the family savings. Bought a Mercedes-Benz for me without my knowledge and purchased a designer wardrobe. 30 days ago, it was like Matt snapped and became a different person. When I look at him, I don't even know who he is anymore. It's like looking at a stranger.
Well, Samantha says Matthew has become so paranoid that he fled to Texas, blocked her phone number, blocked her from social media, and hasn't spoken to her since.
Matt is on the run, and his goal was to start a new life and just cut his family out and not deal with any of the things that he left behind. Matt has not only abandoned me, he's left behind our 15-month-old and 7-year-old.
I absolutely never felt safe in my house because my wife was being a bitch. I felt that if I didn't leave, I would be incarcerated.
He decided that he was going to fly to Texas to live with his mother and his aunt. Left for Texas and didn't even let me know. His mom had contacted me and let me know that he was safe. If he doesn't get help, I don't know if he'll come back. This is my last resort.
But despite her saying this was her last resort, it wasn't Samantha who wrote the show. It was actually Matthew's Aunt Amanda. She says her once perfect nephew has definitely, in her terms, lost his mind.
Matt was Mr. Perfect. My nephew used to be perfect husband, perfect father, perfect son, perfect everything. His behavior is scary. When I realized something was really wrong, he called me at like probably 5 o'clock in the morning. He was speaking erratically and he was speaking in code. His brain was going like 100 miles an hour. He sounded like the devil. It was a really negative, scary energy. It wasn't him. I think something is broken inside of him.
So, what does Matthew have to say about all of these observations? Well, he says the $20,000 was his to spend, and he believes that his wife is just out to get him.
I would rather live in a friggin' tent than in my own house with my wife. I set up the tent in the garage and stayed in it for a full week. I had enough of my wife's selfish ways and ran away. And quite frankly, I didn't care if I was homeless. I admit I lost control a few weeks ago. I spent way too much money. I bought cars. I've tricked out my truck. Threw clothes out that were only a day old in the garbage, bought brand new shoes, did whatever the hell I wanted, maxed out credit cards. I booked a 3-night stay in Vegas. Spent $1,000 on a plane ticket because I had to go right now. The medication I was prescribed after my back surgery make me feel very super paranoid. I felt like the police were chasing. I hid under a bridge because of the severe paranoia. Samantha didn't have the common decency to help me out with my mental issues. My wife is calculated and she is constantly poking me in the cage like a dog. Samantha wants me back, but after 3 years of complete abuse, I'm never going back. I would like to divorce my wife, Samantha. This marriage is over. Our relationship was great. We've been married for 10 years. I gave my wife everything, paid for everything, took care of her from top to bottom, and then all of a sudden she turns on me and gives me nothing in return.
Well, all right, we're going to take a break. Samantha, Matthew, and his Aunt Amanda have all arrived to Los Angeles safely. But let me tell you something. It is a 24-hour enterprise here at the Dr. Phil Show. And my production team for this particular family have barely slept since Sunday. This story has not been without drama, as these guests, well, some of them just needed protection from themselves. I'm going to explain more about that after the break. You will understand.
Matt was never a big spender, but his spending right now, that would be something out of character because he's more frugal with money than that. He pulled out $5,000 to put on the Mercedes-Benz. He purchased a snowmobile for $360, a lathe machine for $1,200, purchased $250 on sunglasses, a bass guitar for $500. Matt got a tattoo of flames on his forearm, and maxed out our credit card at $8,000. It's not only his money, it's my money too.
Samantha had not seen her husband in several weeks, but they made contact yesterday, and at some point, both of them, despite being extremely estranged, disappeared, and they disappeared together. So joining us are his Aunt Amanda and co-executive producer Melissa Key. I'm glad you're here, and I actually haven't met Matthew or Samantha yet. I don't judge them. I'm not upset with them. I'm concerned about them. What do you know about them going missing?
I didn't know a lot. Your show called me and said they hadn't heard from them. And of course, I was woken up out of the middle of the night and concerned. I tried to reach out to both of them. Matt finally did text me back, and I think he was leading into more of his paranoia. And I think he somehow got Sam on the same page with the paranoia with him and got her on to see where he was supposedly coming from.
Do you think he's delusional?
I know he has been delusional at times.
Do you think he pulled her into that in some way?
I do.
Poof, he's gone. And with the woman that he's saying, my goal is make sure she knows I don't ever want to see her again. So you see, it's very inconsistent. Melissa, how did this all unfold?
So yesterday during the day, we got a call from you who said actually that Matthew was having a bit of an episode and that he was asking to go home. They started looking for him. They got a text from him saying that he was at Starbucks. But I'm heading home to the hotel now. So we sent our AP over there just to wait and see, and he didn't show up. So after a little while, we asked the hotel to do a welfare check on him. So security goes up to the room, checks his room, reports back to us that he's not there and there's no suitcases there. We call her hotel, they go up and check on her, they find Samantha and Matthew in her room. But then they call us back like 5 or 10 minutes later and say, she just checked out and Matthew was with her.
Any duress or anything reported?
No, they're perfectly fine. She's checking out of her room and he's right there with her. So now we call you, wake you up in the middle of the night. We call Matthew's father, wake him up in the middle of the night, say, have you heard from them? Are they okay? So all night long, we're calling hotels. We're having our travel department check flights. We are checking hospitals just in case he had another episode and she took him there. Nothing. Finally, this morning at 7:30 a.m., we locate him at a hotel near the airport. They're standing outside on the curb waiting for an Uber.
He wants to be here. He wants to make this clear. She's desperate to get him. They're at odds. Now they're together, and he's leaving town, and she's with him. And Amanda, this is my frustration. All this analysis that we've put into this and figuring this out, and this is what he's walked away from. And that is what is so frustrating. And you took the initiative, the love and care to create all of this for him. And that's why I said, God bless you for writing in and creating this opportunity for him. And understand, don't feel that that has been in vain. We stand ready to help Matthew and Samantha at any time. You've started the process, and you will plug back in with them at some point. Just know our door is open, okay?
Thank you.
All right. I talked to an amazing police officer earlier in the show, and now coming up, an organization going to great lengths to unite law enforcement and the people they have vowed to serve and protect. How are they doing it? Well, find out after the break. I've been taking you behind the badge and introducing you to extraordinary police officers and departments all over the country. Recently, we were invited to a special town hall meeting in Dallas, Texas, where city leaders and members of local and state law enforcement gathered, along with hundreds of members of the community, to discuss how to create trust and unity in this city.
We are at Concord Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. We're bringing two worlds together, our first responders and our citizens. And we're going to discuss the hard issues that many times people turn and run from.
It doesn't mean that one officer makes everyone bad, no more than it makes one black young man that committed a crime make all of us bad. When you look across our nation, our country, there's so much tension between law enforcement and the black community.
I was downtown Dallas July 7th. It's something that we'll always remember. When we do have a tragedy, whether it's a citizen getting shot or an officer getting shot, we need to have some open lines of communication.
Sometimes it's hard to look beyond the stereotype. It's hard to look beyond the uniform. I want to humanize my profession. I want people to know that police officers are community members. You know, we all want the same goals.
It does my heart a lot of good and see law enforcement and the communities that they serve working hand in hand.
I think our citizens have a lot to say. They want their message understood.
We have a very special guest that's with us today. His name is Officer Tommy Norman.
He is the cop that social media just can't get enough of.
He believes in going beyond the badge.
Really, there's two key components. There's creating relationships and then keeping the commitment to those relationships. It's getting out of your police car, sitting on front porches. It's getting to know people's stories and becoming their friends. It has to be authentic. It has to come from the heart. It has to be genuine.
All right, we'll take some questions from the audience.
There's one person who wrote, "How can citizens begin forming a relationship with an officer today?"
We have ride-along programs. That's a good way to not only form a relationship, but to see what we do on a daily basis.
This is kind of in your face. Is there a code of silence with officers?
There shouldn't be a code of silence. If you see a police officer that's breaking the law, you should report him or call him out on it.
We feel like we are profiled, and as an African-American man, I can honestly say we do feel like that. But I think we did make progress today.
You watch the news all week, and it's bad, bad, negative, negative, and then you come to an event like this, and you realize there's good that can come of things.
Seeing everyone here tonight gives me hope, because tonight gives us a starting place. And we hope it doesn't just stop here, but that we'll go to our neighborhoods, go to our workplaces, and continue these important conversations so that we can move toward healing into a better place. Officer Norman, thank you for coming out. Thank you for just the model that you're setting. Help me to celebrate Officer Norman.
I appreciate it.
I want to thank all of my guests today for sharing their stories. If you want to nominate an officer or department, please go to drphil.com and share your story. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
No matter what I do, you got something to say. And all you do is look out for my next mistake. Leave me alone when we learn to mind your own business. I don't need your help, so take it somewhere else. So why don't you go, baby, you're one and you and I don't mix. Take it somewhere else. Don't like it when you look at me like that. You love it when you see me get off track. When I fall, just talk behind my back, 'cause I don't like it when you look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. You judge me all the time, and you take it too far. You like to cross the line, 'cause that is who you are.